Todd Lyons, who is the director of ICE. Todd, welcome back to the Scott Jennings Show.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate it.
So you're obviously in one of the most stressful government jobs right now because of what's going on in Minneapolis, the job that you were given to do around the country. What I'd like to start with is just to let you talk a little bit. Your view of Minneapolis right now. We have a lot of ICE agents on the ground. We're in the news every day. There's a lot of issues going on. When you wake up in the morning and when you go to bed at night, what is your holistic view of this situation? How is it going? Why and how could it be better?
Sure. Well, the big thing, Scott, I hope the American public remembers is the fact of why we got there in the first place. We were there. Homeland Security Investigations was investigating a $9 billion fraud scheme.
Yep.
Originally, that's what we went there for. At the same time, though, we were always on the ground doing our ICE immigration enforcement mission, right? So we've always been in Minneapolis. It's nothing new. We are out there arresting the worst of the worst. One thing that's really frustrating for us is you constantly hear all the time, if ICE shows up with a criminal warrant, if a judge signs off on this case, we'll support you. Much like Los Angeles, we had the riots where we went to do a worksite enforcement. We actually had a criminal warrant, and we still came across protest. Now we're out there doing a lawful law enforcement mission, and we have American citizens and lawful permanent residents and some illegal aliens that are involving themselves in a law enforcement situation and making it dangerous for everybody. And, kind of to what the president's point was, common sense. Common sense would be you work with federal law enforcement, and we're just not seeing that. So while we're out there trying to do our mission, they're releasing criminal aliens back on the street. We have to go arrest them. Now we need more agents and officers to protect the cops out there arresting people. I go to bed every night, and my biggest concern is the men and women of ICE and their safety, and they go home safe every night. Right now, Minneapolis is just not a safe place, but we have to make sure we protect our officers and agents, but we have to protect the communities of Minnesota as well.
So let's talk about the ICE presence in Minneapolis. There are how many ICE agents in Minneapolis right now?
Right now we have about, total between all our components, about 4,000 folks on the ground.
And is that the most staff you have in any metropolitan area in the country?
Right now, yes.
Okay, so let's talk about why that is. In cities and states across this country, ICE, Department of Homeland Security, is getting cooperation from state and local officials. And when you're talking about cooperation, what does that look like? Give me an example of where cooperation is working perfectly.
I'll give you a great example. If we'll give a jurisdiction in Texas, say Dallas Sheriff's Office. We have a immigration enforcement officer stationed there. People come in, they screen them as well. They place detainers on them. They determine that person's here illegally in the country. Oh, and he's a public safety threat because a local law enforcement agency decided to put him behind bars. And then when the state or the locals are done with that individual, they turn him over in a safe, secure environment. That's cooperation.
In the jails.
In the jails.
So we're talking about an illegal alien that is a threat to public safety, picked up by local law enforcement. You put a detainer on them, and then the locals work with your guys to just transfer them in an administrative way. This is as easy as it gets. This is what cooperation looks like.
100%. That is what the best example of cooperation I can give.
So in Minneapolis, we have the opposite of that. There is no cooperation, meaning they pick up an illegal alien who is a violent person. They then let them out of jail. They go back on the street, and then that forces ICE to have to go chase them down on the street, in the neighborhoods, in the communities, which is why you have to have a larger presence, yes?
100%. So for us, it would only take 1 or 2 agents or officers to take custody of them in a secure jail environment. Back in traditional days, we would go out with 5 to 6 officers to make that arrest. But now when officers and agents are being attacked by bystanders who have nothing to do with the situation or protesters come out, we're having to go out with 10 to 15 additional individuals just to protect that arrest team.
So you've got people who are chasing down violent illegal aliens, and then you have people protecting the people who are chasing down violent illegal aliens.
100%.
So this is why you have so many people in Minneapolis. As you know, I sit in my job at CNN every night, and I hear a lot of accusations made against ICE. I want to go through some of this and just let you debunk some of the myths that are out there. Number one, they say ICE is targeting American citizens to arrest and deport. Is this true?
That is not true at all. 100% false.
Okay. How would an American citizen get ensnared in a situation with ICE? What's the most common way that would happen?
Common, we've seen it play out right now, is when they interject themselves in a law enforcement situation, when they impede or harass or assault officers or agents.
Okay, what if, say, an American citizen is harboring illegal aliens in their home? Is that another way they could come into contact?
That's another way as well. Or if you're an employer and you're employing illegal aliens or a part of a forced labor network, you can be encountered that way through a criminal investigation.
And let's go into these interactions between American citizens and ICE agents who are in the field doing their job, performing lawful law enforcement activity. What are you seeing? I mean, obviously, we know the tragic situation with the shooting. An agent was hit with a car. What other kinds of ways are you seeing people come after and assault ICE agents?
You know, previous to Minnesota, we used to see people just come up, try to stick a cell phone in an officer or agent's face, try to record it, yelling at them from across the street. Then it started slowly picking up more. Then we started seeing the vehicle incidents. Not necessarily ramming at the beginning, but, you know, blocking officers, agents in so they couldn't go to a next arrest. Then, through a lot of the political rhetoric, when they talked about actually things you could do to impede ICE officers, we saw individuals going in and trying to rescue, if you will, grab the illegal alien out from the officers, pushing the officers out of the way. Because, you know, the left has this rhetoric that you're an American citizen, ICE can't touch you.
Right.
But if you touch a law enforcement officer, you're going to jail.
Right. So you have American citizens who are trying to grab illegal aliens who are being apprehended and rip them away?
Rip them away.
I mean, and so this is a felony. Under federal law, interfering with law enforcement is a felony, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so, I mean, it is amazing to me the irresponsibility of the rhetoric out here. People are being trained to inject themselves into situations, and now they're in harm's way. They could be charged with a felony, or they could get injured. This is important. The public service announcement here is when you inject yourself into a law enforcement situation, you are putting yourself in danger.
100%. And that's a lot of these incidents we see are people injecting themselves into a situation that they just don't need to be there. We're all for peaceful protest, but do it in a safe and smart way. What they're doing now is not smart.
All right, this voice you're hearing today, Todd Lyons. He is the director of ICE. We're talking about all the issues with immigration enforcement. Let me tell you another myth that I hear all the time, and that is that ICE agents aren't trained. They're not trained properly. You're hiring people and throwing them out onto the streets without any training whatsoever. What say you to that accusation?
I debunk that totally, too. So what we've done, Scott, is we went and we looked at everything holistically, right? And efficiency of government, we want to look at what we can do to make sure we're sending everyone out there, top, well-trained officers on the street, but also using our time wisely. So what ICE has done is we've recruited a lot of former federal law enforcement, current federal law enforcement, state and local. So we're able to use their training and their experience as well. But we still have everyone that goes through the FLETC, the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. Everyone's still trained in defensive tactics. Everyone has qualification scores. They have PT standards. It is still the same. We just went from having 8-hour class days to 12-hour class days, 6 days a week, to make sure we can get more men and women out on the street. But we have not subsided on our standards. That was one thing I stood firm on. We weren't going to do that. And I made sure the training staff figured out a way that we have the best trained people out on the street and still meeting the president's goal of getting 10,000 new agents.
So the accusation that you're hiring somebody on a Wednesday and throwing them out on the street on a Thursday with no training is totally false.
Completely false.
And the accusation that you have reduced or degraded training requirements or the standards to become an ICE agent, that is false.
That is false.
How is recruitment going? Because you were given an additional budget in the big, beautiful bill to hire more ICE agents. How is recruitment going under that new program?
You know, recruitment's going great. We've met our goal, but we're actually exceeding it now. We're still going to hire more. You know, you would think with all the bad publicity that ICE is getting right now, there'd be we'd have a stoppage, but we don't. We have over 220,000 applicants. American law enforcement officers that wanted to come and be a part of a good organization, good federal law enforcement career, and it still continues. We still have people every day putting in to be an ICE special agent or deportation officer.
So the people that are on the streets in Minneapolis have all the proper training, and in the case of many of these folks, they've been with the agency for years and years and years. So, you know, it's not as though they are brand new to this. In fact, the agent that was involved in the shooting the other day, 10-year guy, in fact, had been hit by a car last summer and had 35 stitches in his leg. So these are people who are not just trained but experienced.
Yep, they have the experience, and you know, not only do they have the experience with ICE, they have a lot of experience from other law enforcement agencies as well. Our officer that was involved in that shooting, he served proudly in the Border Patrol, was a member of their special response team, so he was well trained.
Let me go back to this issue of cooperation, and because I think this is getting lost in all of the back and forth. Is it the position of the Trump administration that if Minnesota officials, Governor Walz and Mayor Fry and the police there, if they would cooperate with ICE in the same way you're getting cooperation in, say, Dallas or places in Florida, anywhere in the country, that the ICE presence that you have would not be necessary?
100%. And, if we had that cooperation, like I said, in the jails, or better yet, if we had the cooperation when our officers and agents are attacked on the street, we wouldn't see this many people out there.
Now, let me ask you this. If an ICE agent is attacked on the street, what does the Minneapolis police do?
Right now, they don't do anything.
An ICE agent comes under attack, say like the story the other day where the agent was hit with the shovels by the 3 Venezuelan nationals. The Minneapolis Police Department does not respond to help the ICE agent?
No, and that's the problem with a lot of these jurisdictions is they're pitting law enforcement officers against each other. So it's not a red state or a blue state issue. I can give you a great example. While the city of New York may be a sanctuary jurisdiction, the NYPD will come out and assist us or come out and squash any type of protest before it starts.
So let me just, for the record, you're asking here on the Scott Jennings Show today, your appeal to Minnesota would be, please cooperate with us and please allow the Minneapolis police to assist fellow law enforcement if they come under attack.
Yes, I would say please turn over your criminal illegal aliens to us in a secure environment so you don't have us out on the streets. But if we are on the streets making those arrests, help protect our agents and your neighborhoods by keeping these protesters at bay.
And the kinds of people you're encountering, these are the worst of the worst. Give me just a few examples of the kinds of crimes that have been committed by these illegal aliens.
Yeah, I can give you 3 last night. We had one that was arrested for a distribution of fentanyl, one that was arrested for distribution of ecstasy, over 8,000 tablets, 2 for sexual assault of a child, and a murder. And we look at one that the secretary is actually out on a ride-along, was wanted out of Connecticut for a sexual assault of a child. Came to Minnesota, was arrested for a DUI, was released back on the street, and he had a pending homicide charge in his home nation. Those are the ones.
That is Todd Lyons. He is the director of ICE. He is obviously dealing with a situation in Minneapolis right now. Director Lyons, thanks for helping debunk some of these myths.